It's like the three witches in Charmed, with the two of cups for polyamory. And if you don't know what polyamory is, ask somebody. When this is missing from a person's life, their life is sad because they haven't got like-minded others. They haven't got people with whom they can sort of like get together and have a midwinter sort of feast. It's a beautiful, beautiful card. This is all of us together. It's people of like-minded. And all the cards around it will tell you whether they're getting together for a political rally or whether they're getting together to have a picnic by the beach. King of Cups. Do we have any Pisces men present? No? No? Any water sign men here at all? No? Pisces, Cancer or Scorpio men?
Yes. Cancer.
Cancerian? Okay, you can be the pricks of the zodiac. IT magnates. That includes all three of the water sign men. In the 21st century, they are into IT well and truly, creatively. And that can be the building of websites, and could be the working out of cryptocurrency, all kinds of aspects. Not necessarily interested in other people's opinion, but they are gentle. And now, is that specific? No, I've just come across a lot of them. Like I've got most opinions about certain different star signs. There's certain qualities that come through for a whole lot of different people, but we haven't even discussed that. Now, the Five of Cups is a bit of a paradox. The Five of Cups is usually sad. It's like, you're too busy looking where you were, in difference to where you are, and therefore you're missing where you are. But so often, this card will turn up on the table and they go, oh, you poor bastard, you've had 3 fucked up relationships. And they go, that's those 3 cups that are down. Yes, if it's with the 9 of Swords, it's incredible grief. It's deep mourning. It's absolute loss. But very interested in these 2 cups that are upright. Because the person with the 5 of Cups very often, remember I mentioned to the Libran person that they may have gone now, they may have run away and got the shits with me, I'm not sure, how they can be backward looking too often. This person's backward looking over what's already failed, what's already gone, what's already fallen down. They have not turned around to look at what might be coming. This can very often turn up when you're really working with somebody who's trying to get through a destroyed relationship, and they're attempting to keep themselves together because they really, really love that person who's left them for somebody else, but they can't get themselves over it. And I go, turn around. And a very similar kind of a card to the 8 of Cups. But the 8 of Cups is where they've turned. You might notice that there's a cup missing. What that says is that relationship always had a hole in it. That relationship always had a problem. And the person concerned probably employed the concept of the Kaufman drama triangle to prevent the inevitable from occurring. So when they're leaving it behind, it's like being in the forêt sauvage. They are just so scared and they are really confused and they don't know where they're going and they don't know what's the end of it. And they are courageous to do this journey on their own. I've encountered so many people who've had this 8 of Cups. And they can be consumed by grief, but as long as they keep walking, they're safe. You know, and when we're fed the fantasy of the Disney wedding and marriage and life ever after, and that can be there. I mean, people can get to 85, 95 together. Sooner or later, you're going to be sad. Sooner or later, you're going to, why did I stay with that person for 50 years and I'm still making their breakfast? Time and time again, this will turn up in the midst of domestic abuse. And they're so disappointed because no one stood for them. No one stood up for them. No one's been there at their side and said, I will walk with you. I will stay with you. Then there's none of this. They need to know that there's just one other person who can understand where they're coming from. That's why they'll come and see you. I do remember the first time it turned up when I was so clear. It was in a warning spread for a guy who lived at Mount Karuchiang, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember saying to him, look, you've got a dope crop, and I said you have to guard it to the very end or you'll lose it. There's your marijuana crop. He ended up staying up at night in the field with his plant medicine, and the day he went to Castlemaine to get his groceries and he came back, whoops! He will turn up with Ace of Wands with a fantasy writer. Just be aware of that. It's also my lying card, because this one is when mother or father says, did you take the $20 that I left on the kitchen table? And they go, wasn't me. Basically, if it turns up as an outcome, it turns up a foundation. Whoever it relates to in the reading is a liar. The time it meant death was when I was working with the AIDS boys. So the tarot could teach me that death is not all that we... And I needed to do the research to find out what death is and what death isn't. The tarot will teach you to start learning as well. That's it just will keep that going. But the Ten of Cups is your family. It's your home. It's got that juice in it, where you've got your bits out. You walk in that door and the smell and the feel, and the dog runs up to you and gives you the biggest lick under the sun. That's home. Home can be a tent. Home can be a bark dwelling underneath the branches, as long as your community is juicy and is joyous and is okay. The Ten of Cups is your protection. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. When a person's moving, very often their kind of dwelling that they get is going to be it's going to be either the Ten of Pentacles, or they're going to have a Knight of Pentacles with a Ten of Wands, so that you can see them in the moving van. The Ten of Cups could be the outcome, which means it's not even built yet, doesn't even exist yet. So it could be an Eight of Wands beforehand, and then a lot of hard work goes into that, and the Ten of Cups is the outcome. Also, it talks about a person who's being deported. But I will use a specific expression when they're being deported, and that does happen. And when they're being deported, it says you will be going home to your place of origin, your family of origin. Because the home, the Ten of Cups, is also your ancestral home, which may simply be your own body, but the bloodline of your DNA, the songline of your ancestral lineage. Indigenous affairs. This is also going to be there for Palestinians who are working with what's happening on the left, with Israel's expansion. This is also going to be Israel and their expansion into the left bank. You see how this works? It's anything to do with house, home, or living environment that's more than just a dwelling. So you won't find this as an investment property. That'll be your Ten of Pentacles. I took out a 1-month lease on a house in Byron with the absolute certainty that I would be there for ages, and with absolute certainty this was my new home. And I was there for 12 years, and nothing that the owners could do could make the place sell. No DA was passed. They wanted to build a big service station there. Nothing happened for 12 years. But I knew it was over not when all the kids were gone, but when all the animals were also dead. And sure as anything, within a month of me knowing that the DA was passed, is what it is. Had a client with a house in Suffolk Park on Alcorn Street, which is right on the beachfront, million dollar properties. Guy says to me, my place won't sell, what am I doing? I went, I didn't want to say that it's because there's some really nice people in that house, and the house likes them. Now, don't ever think that a house is a structure. A house is a person, nourishing, like a cave, a forest, a living environment within which you are family. This is all this, okay? Right. Six of Cups is almost always the past. When it turns up in a situation to do with people in their family, I always know they've only got 2 kids. They haven't got 1 kid, they haven't got 4 kids, they're 3 kids, they've got 2 kids. That's the 2 kids. As long as you know that it just represents the past, there could be ancestry, but it's usually experiential, which means if somebody says, where am I going to move to? It says you've been there before, and they move back to a town that they used to live in. And if somebody asks if their relationship maybe they're going to get back together again with their partner, do you think she'll come back to me? And I go, nope. It's in the past, you see. So that's that. So funny. So this one in here is sex. So if it turns up with a devil card and a 7 of swords, it's rape. Even if it turns up with a 10 of swords. But with the 10 of swords, you've got to be careful. You've got to see what's around it, because some people actually get their kicks out of S&M. But the devil card doesn't usually turn up with S&M. Quite often you'll turn up with the sort of like The Three of Cups, you're like, oh, we're all in on that, okay? So some lots of sex are really interesting, okay? So you get a good education by learning the way other people fuck. Straightforward, isn't it? It's sexy, it's sexual, it's erotic, it's even just flirty. Whatever it is, it's really like that, and it's pleasurable. It will turn up with the Eight of Pentacles if a person is a sex worker. And a sex worker can be anybody from someone who works tantric sex to somebody who sells red Ferraris. Serious. Because sex sells. And anybody who doesn't know that doesn't know the world of economics. But it can be very, very dysfunctional if it turns up with the Devil card. The Devil card, Nine of Swords, is a very, very problematic situation. The Devil card, Nine of Swords, can very well, more so than the Devil card, Ten of Swords. But the Ten of Swords is usually a sexual predator. And when I first, again, learned about sort of AIDS and sexually transmitted diseases, the Two of Cups, Devil card, Temperance card, sexual disease, chlamydia in so many instances, gonorrhea, human papillomavirus, it's turning up with AIDS, it'll be all over the place. But it's got to have the Devil card with it. And again, it can be someone who is being predated on. If it turned up as being the predator themselves, I would ask them to leave, because I just don't consider predators to be very nice people. And I haven't, like I said before, I've only had one. That's a sexual relationship that was a bit of a disappointment, wasn't it? There's your one night stand. There's somebody who's thinking about sex. There's somebody who's really good at it. There's somebody who's doing it on the kitchen table. Come on. There's your adolescence. Teach them about condoms. All right, Knight of Cups. Basically means trust the process. It's not a vehicle. It's just a beingness. It's a ness of trust. The Knight of Cups could turn up as the outcome to chaos and discord and towers, and sometimes you need a bit of shit to move a thing from where it's been stuck. Four of Cups. I mentioned this, didn't I, last week or the week before, about the Russian woman selling her stone house? Yeah? And how the fourth offer was the one she took? Yeah, well, that's the Four of Cups, okay? Expect the unexpected. This poor little dude sitting there looking at his three cups. He's going, oh, this is what I expect. This is what's going to happen. This is what it is. This is what And out of the blue, they're going, oh, I want this person in my life. I want that person in my life. I want that person in my life. I want that person in my life. And out of the blue, somebody turns up and you go, it was you? Didn't expect to like somebody like you. Four of Cups can be a gift. These patterns can be just extraordinary. This is what a person's going through, the Eight of Cups. And then the Four of Cups turns up. Now, what do you see? The Eight of Cups, I'm back to front. This is what this is all about. It's right, a bit unco. The Eight of Cups has got that one card missing. The Four of Cups has got the card that's missing up in the air, completely coming out of the blue. So it's like, oh, you walk away from that which is dysfunctional, only to find out that what you thought you expected ends up being somebody completely different. Weird thing about the Queen of Cups, though, if it's a woman, she's got it. I don't know what it is about Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio women that tend to put on body fat or tend to drink too much, but they're the two dysfunctions that water sign women will suffer from if they're not careful. Is overindulgence in alcohol or food. And it's probably because their cup's not full. This has also turned up, interestingly enough, in the middle of something else. And I said, your grandmother's here. And they said, how do you know? I said, she was cremated. They go, what the fuck? And it's the see that? That little thing there? That's the cremation urn. And it'll pop in your face. The so-called dead can quite often have a lot to say. And it turns out that nobody's spread their ashes. And they're a bit pissed off. My body may be gone, but it doesn't need to sit in the jar forever. With the Chariot card, that is the time of Cancer. 21st of June to 21st of July, approximately. With the Death card, it's the time of Scorpio. With the moon card, it's the time of Pisces. Now, this is really interesting. It's a matter of percentages, but you'll know, because if there's a 9 of swords beside this, it's very often. The one thing about water sign children that I've found is they quite often have problems with their head. 8 out of 10 of the water sign children that I've ever come across have inner ear infections easily. Now, I find that an astonishing number, but it's so common.
Is that with the Nine of Swords?
With the 9 of Swords, very often with the 9 of Swords, with the Temperance card, you could find it with illness. It's also, you could have the 9 of Wands with it, because the kid can't hear properly. It doesn't tend to be eyesight problems, it just tends to be inner ear, adenoids, tonsils, that thing to do with water sign kids that can get sick in those areas. It's just odd. Not all the time, but when it turns up with illness, that's what's going to be happening with them. Ace of Cups is love, the roots of the powers of love. And we have discussed on week 1 what love is and what love isn't. Remember that? So it's powerful, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's fantastic, and it needs those, all those things that go underneath the surface that we talked about, like honor, respect, mutuality, reciprocity. We talked about them earlier, remember them? Without them, this is not love, and it's going to end up with 7 of Cups, the illusion of love. I love my home. I love the water sign person. Love is a while away, maybe 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years away. I really come to understand what love is. And there's another interesting one, chapter there. Interestingly enough, love and sex, when they come together, oh gee, that's a nice little mix. Knight of Cups and the Ace of Cups, beautiful together. Particularly if you've got this one first. But then particularly if you've got the grief first, and it says just trust love. No matter how hard it is. It's a little Kal Gibran that says, as he crowns you, so shall he crucify you. 9 of Cards is called the Wish card. Makes me happy. It's like the Ace of Wands, it's another yes card. Like the Death card's no. The 9 of Cups is yes. Oops. Yes. It's the Wish card. Why I sort of say it's a little bit like careful what you wish for, okay? I wish you abundance, and I've got of what? And then I've got head lice for my kids. If you have abundance of pizza, you end up as fat as this dude here on the card. And then the next stage is going to be, let's bury the bastard. 9 of Cups just sits with a project that you're doing. And it doesn't matter if there's no concept of success or failure in the 9 of Cups. There's just loving doing this. So they're quite content with there's nothing missing, you see, from behind them. They've stacked them themselves, or someone has stacked them neatly for them. Either way, it's a win-win scenario, you see. The only time it can be a problem is if it turns up with the Devil card and the Moon card, which is like, if you're crazy, you might as well be crazy with this. The only time, again, it's a problem with the 7 of Cups, it's a little bit like, oh, kumbaya.